In my head, I'm still 21. So
Yeah.
after 21, I stopped aging, bro.
That's it. Still young. Still young at heart.
Just get a little bit more sore.
Yeah, I know, right?
The recovery.
For sure. And before, if I was sore, I'd be like, whatever, I'll go again. Now it's like,
maybe I'll wait till tomorrow.
Maybe I'll take the day off, or maybe I won't hit that again today. You know?
That's awesome, man. That is funny.
It's definitely the difference.
Really funny, man. Look for the questions real quick.
Go for it.
You alright there?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Alright, so first one, Coach Ali, she asked me this one.
Cool.
How did you start CrossFit Nutrition and not CrossFit, Freakin Nutrition? How did you start it? But what was your background? Like, how did you go to school for it?
Yeah.
Did you go to like a little seminar? How was it? How did you like?
Yeah, so for me, it all started probably when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people have a similar story. You know, I just didn't like. I got to the point where I didn't want to be fat anymore. You know, that was really the simple part of it. So I wanted to lose some weight. I really focused on it. I didn't do it the right way, right? A couple years later, I meet a friend of mine. I did get to a place where I felt content with the way I looked. I felt good. I was a football player. I went to college. In college, I met my roommate, and his name was Kerry. Kerry was a 2-time leukemia survivor. I mean, super cool dude, a fighter, but he's shredded. He was just big dude, shredded. I'm like, how's this guy who is 2-time, goes through chemo twice, you know, obviously can't eat or train as like a usual person. I have all the abilities to do these things. I'm like, man, I kind of want to look like this guy. So what are you doing? So I started picking his brain. He put me on to, back in the days, I don't know how I guess like active the community is, but on bodybuilding.com, the forums were like popping, right? Yeah. So like a lot of people, renowned scientists now in the nutrition field, that's where they used to post their stuff. Hey, look, I'm doing this research. This is what we're doing. So, you know, kind of like the bodybuilders were sort of like guinea pigs. Like, hey guys, I read some research. I think this might be a good method to train like this, or to try, you know, keto there, cyclical keto, all these different things. So I learned that was like kind of what got my interest started, right? I started learning about it while I'm going to school. I went to school and actually graduated with a degree in political science and psychology, completely unrelated to what I ended up doing.
I think that's like the majority of the people now.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing was, you know how they say, like, you know, follow your passion, right? And do what you like to do.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, yes, like I always thought, like, yeah, I'm gonna continue this stuff, but this can be something I do on the side. I'm gonna do what makes money, right? Yeah. Which is, I'm gonna go a law school route. I'm gonna try to be a doctor, whatever. So I never struggled in school. I was a pretty good academically. I was a pretty good student. So I went the law route, but you know, once I started seeing a couple friends a couple years ahead of me in law school, and I didn't see how they were too happy doing what they were doing. I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to take this nutrition thing seriously. So I started training a few friends. While I got ready for a bodybuilding competition, I had a nutrition coach at that time myself, William Grazone, which I'm still friends with to this day, and I think of as a mentor to myself. He kind of was the one that showed me, like, there's a right way to do this. You don't have to starve. You don't have to give up the fun things in life. You know, as opposed to what I did the first time around to lose weight, which is go and run with a sauna suit for 6-8 miles twice a day, and then go lift or go to wrestling practice or whatever and try to make weight that way. So when I stepped on stage, I really enjoyed it. It was a really cool experience, but it was like, this is not really what I want to do. I kind of want to do the flip side. I want to help people get to their goal weight or to achieve their nutritional goals. So that's pretty much what got me into nutrition. Later on, so I worked at a job that was a shipping company, right? It's called Averitt Express. They're in Sunrise. Good people there, but it wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, right? So obviously you got to take care of the home stuff first. So I want to make sure, okay, what can I do to start making money, enjoy what I do that's not this? So I started coaching a couple people on the side, and eventually I got confident enough with what I was doing that I was like, if I take this full time, I think I can create something of it and make a career out of it. So I did. I approached Storm at Freakin CrossFit, and he I had just met him, a couple months before that, and they had a good community there, and I was like, hey, what do you think about we start this program? I think it could be a hit, and I think we could help a lot of people, not just in this gym, but in South Florida and maybe all over the world. He was all for it, so he was one of the first backers, and that's pretty much how we got started. At first, obviously, I wasn't really CrossFitting all that much. I had just started CrossFitting maybe for a couple months when I did it, but I did start with that crowd first because I thought there was a big gap in bodybuilding. For the most part, while some of the methods seem a little extreme, they knew how to get lean, or to gain muscle. They knew how to eat. They didn't necessarily, they needed a coach. A lot of bodybuilding competitors need someone to tell them what to eat, but that's fine. They're paying for that help, right? The general population, especially that one doing CrossFit, all they knew was intensity, intensity, intensity. That's what's going to change the body. Yes, but at some point, nutrition needs to become a priority because you can only keep that up for so long before the body starts to break down. And that's where I was like, I think we need to fill this gap, and we need to fill it quick because a lot of people are going to pay the price from eating 1,200 calorie diets and then coming in and crushing it 5 times a week. It's just, something's got to give, right? And usually the body is the one that starts breaking down. So that's pretty much the backstory there, and why we started Freakin Nutrition, just to help people and make them feel better.
That's cool. And so you that's a good point. So that you start on your own, and then you learn, like you testing it basically.
Yeah. To a certain extent, a lot of it was, yes, me learning some stuff and going through like doing the right thing and the wrong thing. But I definitely had some help along the way as far as learning was concerned when it came to having that bodybuilding coach, a good one at that, who taught me and was very open when I asked him questions, which is what I modeled the program behind too. A lot of times I have my clients and I tell them like, nothing we do is a secret. It's not magic, right? It's out there. The text is out there. The research is out there. I just happen to study it and you have it, and that's fine. You don't have the time because you have other things to take care of. But ask me the questions so that eventually you have that education. And that was the big part.
And so why do you say people miss the most? Like when I started, I was like, dude, I've been doing CrossFit for, man, I don't know, it was like 2-3 years, and my body looked the same. Yeah, I was lifting more, doing all these things, but I was like, man, I don't see like the difference, the six pack, all this, that, until I got a coach for like 6 weeks. And I was like, it made the whole difference. How would you tell people, how would you get someone to understand that, right? Like you can only do so much on your own, right? Like you needed somebody to coach you when you were doing it. How would you get someone to understand that part of it? Like it's the benefits of having a coach.
Yeah, so what we do, and this is where social media can be a helpful tool. What we do is we keep broadcasting that same message over and over and over and over. Sometimes I've had a follower on Freakin Nutrition that started following me 2 years ago, and finally they came to the conclusion that they needed help 2 years after, right? And that's just a matter of like, maybe they tried some other stuff that worked, some that didn't, or maybe they tried to do it on their own and it's worked and it, or it hasn't, and eventually they seek the help. But when it comes to, I've always told people, you can't convince anybody that they need nutrition help, right? They're gonna come to you when they're ready. All you can do is pretty much explain to them, and I think that's our job as coaches, whether it's a nutrition coach or a coach on the floor, is to explain to them and just reiterate like, hey, this is important, this is important, this is important, this is important, eventually to the point that it's like, oh man, you know what, coach is right, I should try this. It's like, yeah, as a coach you're like, I know, I've been telling you for so long, but until they have that moment of realization that I need to do this, there's not anything you can do to convince people, because if you try to convince them they're not ready, it's just they're just not gonna be compliant, right? And so that's my thing is, as coaches there has to be leaders, right? And the leaders, the people that are listened to, right? We're on the floor, we have even 10-15 minutes explaining the workout, just reiterating the importance of sleep, of nutrition, of water intake, of these important things. And eventually, you can't convince everybody, but 3 or 4 people in a class of 30 that listen to you, that's enough. Yeah, and that's the biggest thing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And from there, yeah, it grows. After that, people see the difference. Oh man, yeah, they started doing
Yeah,
that.
and if you plant the seed, right? You're just planting seeds all over the place, and eventually, when they're ready, they're ready. Maybe let's just take a regular person. Maybe John, Nime, who's on our program right now. He's seeing some weight loss, and he's happy. He's leaning out. His performance has been getting better. He's really thrilled with that. Eventually, it's gonna start to show when he takes his shirt off and he's real confident, right? And now someone's gonna ask him, "What are you doing?" Right? And while it's kind of vain to think about, like, man, someone's getting convinced because of the way someone looks, it's the reality of things, right? But so they see it. Now, guess what? Now they're like, you know what, man, John, been coming to the gym for 2 years. I know him. And finally now things are clicking for him. All right, cool. What's he doing? Oh, he changed his nutrition. And whether they come to us or not, I don't care. But now they're making that change, because you as a leader planted the seed with one person, and now that person starts to plant seeds for other people.
Love it. What is something different that you do? There's millions of nutrition programs, coaching things out there. What is one thing that stands you out from the rest?
Yeah. So I think that one of I'm nice. All right. to put it like very blunt, right? I'm very nice. I'm very patient with our clients, and our coaches are exactly the same way, right? Where one of the things that I always wanted people to understand when they follow our program is that you're in it for the long run, right? You're in it if you really want to see the results. You're not committing to just the time that you're doing this with me, even if you cancel the membership, but this is a lifelong journey as far as eating correctly, right? So I don't get upset. I don't, and I reassure people that when they have a shitty weekend, that they had a couple extra drinks, or maybe they indulged in a food, it's perfectly fine. That's human, right? So I'm patient with them and making sure that they understand that that's okay, but be aware of your decision, right? So where a lot of nutrition programs is, you're either following it or you're not, right? Hey, sorry, you didn't follow it, I can't help you out, right? Let me know when you're following it, and then I'll go make some changes. And that's not being a nutrition coach, right? That's like hoping that they're robots, and people are not robots, right? People have events, they have different situations. So understanding that one, this is a flexible approach, right? Try to obviously be flexible and include some things you like. But on weekends that you mess up, have that moment where you're aware, like, I didn't give in to that piece of cake because that piece of cake is controlling me. No, I chose to have that piece of cake, and I'm okay with maybe not losing weight that week, right? And that's fine. But don't come crying to me, oh, I didn't lose weight this week. You know why. Understand why. Do better next time, all right? And that's okay. But I think that's what makes us different. The fact that we're gonna make sure you get results, and we're gonna explain to why you did or you didn't. But we're not going to make you feel bad because you're human, right? And you had a lapse of judgment, or maybe you weren't good for a week or two. That's fine. You think I'm gonna be great this week, and it's my birthday week, and I'm gonna have a few drinks.
Exactly.
I know what's gonna happen, right? My recovery from my workout from tomorrow is probably gonna be that great. Maybe I gain a couple pounds. That's fine, because this is a lifelong journey, right? It's not about getting fit for the next 30 days, for the next 60 days. It's to be fit for your kids, for your grandson, for your whatever.
Something that you mentioned and we talked about the other day, how for people to understand how the lost weight graph looks.
Yeah.
Right? Like it goes up and down, and it's not like a straight line down. Also, something that I like trying to get people, they get super crazy about the weight on the scale, right? What if you look better, you're losing inches, you're gaining muscle, but the weight on the scale stays the same, or it goes up a little bit more?
Yeah.
How can people, like, what would you tell somebody?
So from the nutrition coach perspective, I one of the things that I tell my coaches the same thing is, like, when you take on a client, right, the first thing that they do, anyone who signs up, is they fill out a questionnaire for us, and they put what their goals are, and if they have a specific date, right? What we look at is, okay, what do they want? What's realistic? 2, and then 3, now we're gonna set the expectations for the client, okay? So the client has to understand they wanna lose 20 pounds. That's okay, but understand that losing 20 pounds in the amount of time that you want might be a little harder than you think, right? This is assuming you're 100% strict. Also, understand that you think you need to lose 20 pounds, but maybe you lose 10, you like the way you feel, but you rather perform a little bit more, right? So it's like, be flexible with your goals. When it comes to nutrition, a lot of the times with other set goals, I like concrete goals. I personally do too, and I think most people work that way. Okay, this is point A and point B, we're gonna do what it takes to get to point B. But understand, like you said, it's gonna be up, down, up, down, up, down. And focusing yourself too much on just one statistic doesn't show you the whole picture. So instead, what we do, and this is what I would definitely suggest other people do, is have a lot of different sources of measurements where you're getting wins, right? Because when it comes to any kind of dieting is purely in here, okay? The other stuff is numbers, right? The numbers part is the easy part for us. Everything else is in here. So being able to keep motivation high. Motivation is you can't rely on it. Right? Because yeah, when you start something, you pay me, now you're excited, boom, I'm getting a new plan. All right, what happens in 3-4 weeks after you've done it? You're starting to get a little hungry. Maybe 1 week you didn't lose weight, you've been losing weight, motivation goes down. What happens there? If you're relying too strongly on motivation, you're gonna go back to your old habits, right? So have a lot of different progress markers that you can look for wins on a weekly basis. One, logging your stuff on sugar water and just seeing if you got a little stronger from the week before, right? If maybe you reached the PR. Two, waist measurement. Sometimes the scale doesn't go down, but you're wasted, and that just means, you know, some body fat's coming off, maybe you gain a little muscle. Use picture measurements, use your clothes, you know, a lot of these little things. How about how you're feeling, right? A lot of times we don't take account of actually how we're feeling. Are you feeling better? No, we fixate, we're like, okay, we're feeling good, energy levels are up, man, I'm having better conversations with people, my energy level's feeling great, my mood is enhanced, you know, my sex drive, everything, all these things are improving, but you're focused on that number on the scale. So now every good thing that happened that week just went to shit because now you're looking at just a number on the scale. That's not right. Look at your other wins. Now, if fat loss is the goal, the scale should move over time down, but it's never linear. It's never straight down. Rarely, you know, the clients that I have that are like that, I'm like, oh man, easy money, right? Like, awesome. You know, some people respond to this, but the majority of people won't, and the reason is because they've been dieting for a long time. They've been dieting for such a long time that their metabolism, you know, has some imperfections. There's some things that they don't understand that's underlying things that are slowing down. But we're here to figure that out, right? And then and consistency is everything. So look for little wins and not strictly just the scale.
So I guess that goes to my question is your challenges with your clients. What is your biggest challenge or obstacle with your clients?
Yeah,
or with the majority of them, because I know not every client's got the same obstacle, but what's the majority?
The biggest thing is consistency. You know, my clients are very compliant for the most part because they have I keep things simple as far as what they need to do. They need to hit, and they know it, right? They can. I almost finish off every single person's email the same way, right? It's, all right, guys, there's nothing to it but to keep going now, right? Like because a lot of times, like, you're like, oh, this guy's changing my macros every week, this and that. Not really, right? Like, you don't change numbers unless you absolutely need to, right? That's just a tool. Or I'm not gonna give you more cardio if you're still losing weight. Like, we use that when things slow down. So a lot of the times it's that consistency. It's just them understanding that, like, it's just kind of boring, you know. It's like you have to hit your macros, hydrate, train for intensity, and to get stronger, specifically get stronger, and sleep, right? You do those 4 things and you're good, right? And you're good. If you want to add, get some sunlight and interact with human beings, right, to that mix. Those are the pillars of nutrition. You do that and you're good. So I think a lot of the times, you know, where people can struggle, it's just like, oh, okay, I just got to keep doing it, and they're still seeing results, and it's good, right, when they're seeing results. But what happens is, what you alluded to, right? It's never a straight line. Right. So what happens is, let's say they hit a plateau, or they weren't tracking correctly, or something sneaked up on them, or they had a drink or whatever, and the actual compliance dropped a little bit. Now they're like, damn, you know, I was pretty good last week. I did everything and I didn't see any weight loss. And that's where I have to come in, and that's like, it's okay, you know, it's fine, you're gonna be all right, just give it a week, you know. And then I'm like, a lot of times it's funny because I'll tell people, like, weigh yourself in 3 days, you know, like, because obviously they're weighing it. I have most people weigh themselves just once a week on their check-in day, But if they had a high carb meal the night before, or they had a high sodium meal or something like that, maybe they're retaining a little water, they're a little heavier. And I'm like, just weigh yourself in 3 days again, and then 3 days are like, how'd you know? Like they think I'm a genius. I'm like, yeah. It's been a couple of you guys now. I've done this, but yeah, that's definitely the biggest thing. It's just trying to keep people consistent, long enough for them to see the results. I've had clients that like, a lot of times people are like, they'll send me an email and they think that it's like, okay, solve it. But I'm on the other end like, okay, what's going on? She's doing this, right? Okay, they hit their macros. I'm trying like, it's a detective work, right. So I'm like, I'm going through it and it's like, okay, we make a change. Next week, they still didn't lose weight. I'm like, oh man, I'm running out of tools now, right? And it's like, okay, but we just gotta stay patient because the science says everything's good. 3 weeks at the same weight, right? Let's say it's hard to keep somebody on track for 3 weeks. You're talking about 21 days of not seeing results. And then all of a sudden, they lose 3 pounds, they lose 4 pounds, and it's just like, oh, what happened different? Nothing happened different, you just gave it time. You just give it time and you follow through. So sometimes that's the hardest part.
And that's the thing with a lot of people, they're impatient. They think it's like, it'll happen like instantly, but it takes time.
And that's why the biggest thing is just working on habits first.
Right.
Yeah. That's why I actually tell people, most clients, like, if even before they sign up, on Instagram, I'm exchanging DMs with people like, oh, what should I do? What should I focus on? Whatever. I'm like, start working out. I think it's the hardest but the easiest one, right? Because start working out 4 times a week or 5 times a week. If you get into the habit of doing that, everything else is gonna start to work out, right? Now, once you make that a habit, you're making yourself, you go into the gym and work out hard, you feel good, you're not too worried about the scale, right? Because you're just focused on working out. It's just something you have to do at this point, right? Then later on, okay, now I'm gonna ask for nutrition help now, or I should start going to bed a little earlier. I should have a couple less beers because it's gonna affect my workout. So if you can start with the gym first, build that habit, and then after that, then we'll start looking at nutrition. Because telling people what to eat or when not to eat is a much harder sell than getting someone in the gym. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Good information, dude. That is badass. In your opinion, does macro timing really matter?
So, not in my opinion, but the research, no, it doesn't. It doesn't when we're talking specifically about fat loss and muscle gain, right? Okay. So if we're talking about changing the body composition, doesn't matter. As long as you get, a lot of people will say in a 24-hour period, you hit your macros or you eat the amount of calories you need to consume. Science actually says the body doesn't worry whether it's Monday or Tuesday. You can look at things in a 2 to 3 day span. So as long as you're getting your calories in, or not that much, according to your goal, you're good. Now, where I think timing matters a little bit more, and the research is there to support that, is when it comes to performance, when it comes to competition day nutrition. So like with competitors, things are a little bit different. People who are focused on performance, gaining strength and things like that, that's where, especially if somebody's doing 2 a days, you have people who are training twice a day, that's where nutrition timing is a little bit more important. Now with my clients, whether they're performance or not, I always try to refer to the clients as athletes, right? I always talk to them like they're athletes. Whether they think of it or not, you should have the athlete mentality of becoming fitter, becoming stronger, because that's how the body changes, right? So I give them the tools of an athlete. So I'll tell them, as far as nutrition timing is concerned, around training time, have some carbs, have some protein, keep fats low to improve digestion. Same thing post-workout. And then, if you have a second workout, repeat it again. But that's really the extent of it. The timing doesn't matter too much. It's not as important. But more important is what helps you stay consistent, right? So some people are going to try intermittent fasting, and that works for them. It helps them hit their macros and not be as hungry because they have less time to eat. If that works for you, if it works for you, is it ideal? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows, right? But what actually works is what keeps you on track. So that's really the low of it when it comes to
I like that.
time.
So what about carnivore diet, plant-based, keto, whatever? Like, is there like a best? Everybody's what
So
would you say about that?
I always tell people, try stuff, right? Try it because you don't know, and we're like, oh no, but this worked for me. It worked for you because you stuck with it. right? Most diets are going to create some sort of calorie loss. When we're talking about weight loss, right? Most people diet to do weight loss, but whether it's carnivore, whether it's keto, whether it's Atkins, the one that works is the one that you stick with, right? Because now your eating habits are going to change and you're going to eat better. All of those are based on eating better. None of them are based on eating worse, right? There's just some sort of restrictions built in place. I'm not a fan of any of them because I don't like restrictions, right? I like the ability to enjoy all foods. I like all foods. I like to drink alcohol. I like my flexibility. And the science says that none of them are better than the other, right? So long as there's a calorie deficit, you're gonna be in good shape. But there are some people who swear that the carnivore diet was the best thing they ever did. Good, you stuck with it. I'm not gonna be against it. So what I always, like I said, if you hear a diet, someone explains it to you, and it sounds interesting to you, and you're like, I want to give it a try. Give it a try. Yeah, just give it a try. Maybe you feel good, right? I have a lot of clients that are plant-based. The first thing I always ask them is, are you doing it for performance reasons, or to lose weight, or you do it for ethical reasons? If it's ethical or religious, whatever, obviously that's out of my control, right? I have to honor that as a coach. Now, if it's because they want to lose weight or they want to be healthier, quote unquote, or they perform better, then we gotta have a discussion, because then I gotta lay down the facts, right? It's like, okay, this is what the science says. If you still want to try it, I'm all for it. I'll still walk you through it. But understand why you're doing stuff. Don't just do it because you saw it on a freaking Netflix documentary, right? So that's what I always try to tell people, Game changers, guys. Game changers. Everybody. Notice how many people are talking about game changers anymore? It's fads, man. It's fads. At the end of the time, calorie deficit it's a law. It's a thermodynamic. It's a law.
Do you reverse dieting after cutting calories?
Yes. Yeah. For in a perfect world, everyone after losing weight, significant weight, they would spend some time reverse dieting. Maybe I should explain what reverse dieting is.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So reverse dieting, sometimes you do it at the beginning, sometimes you do it at the end. For most people, hopefully it's at the end, not at the beginning. But reverse dieting is simply just adding calories week over week, so that you can go and build up your maintenance level, right? I don't like to use the word build up your metabolism, because your metabolism is your metabolism, right? There's no changing that. It just changes with your weight and how much you're eating. But in theory, that's what it is. There's actually not a whole lot of research, because it's something that's fairly new, but it's worked for a lot of people right now. So, anecdotally, it's there. I've done it for a long time with my clients, and it's worked. It's one of the best things you can do, because it gets you pretty much. Let's just take somebody in a perfect world. They sign up because they want to lose weight, right? Okay, cool. We're going to lose weight. And like I said, I always lay out a plan for them. Okay, look, for us to reach your goal, it's probably going to take about 12 to 16 weeks, depending on your compliance, right? You put 100% of the effort, you're going to get 100% of the result. Any variance between that makes it longer or shorter. So we will go 12 to 16 weeks. After we're done with your cut, we're going to focus on adding calories back in. So let's take Mary. Mary is, starts off following a 1,800 calorie plan with me, right? She starts losing weight slowly but surely. Maybe she loses about 6 or 7 pounds. Boom, we got to adjust her macros down. Now she's eating 1,650. All right, boom, she keeps losing weight. Now she's eating 1,450 or 1,500. Okay, her metabolism is going down. That's called metabolic adaptation. It's normal. It's not unhealthy. It's just she weighs less, so she has less tissue to burn calories, right? So now we've gotten down to, let's say she got lean, she got ripped, she got her abs, she's happy, she's gone from 150 to 120, right? She lost 30 pounds, that's significant weight. But she started eating about 1,750, 1,800 calories. She's now at about 12 something, 1,300, right, at the end of it. Now, how sustainable is that? How long can someone live on 1,200 calories, right? Not very long. I mean, they'll live just fine, but live in the terms of like being able to enjoy a meal out with friends or drinking. There's not a whole lot of room there, right? Because what happens is her metabolism is at 1,200. If she stops cutting and goes right into whatever, I'm gonna go back to eating 1,800 calories. Now there's a 600 calorie surplus. Okay, now she's gaining weight. She's gonna start gaining weight right away, right? That's what you see a lot of in bodybuilding and people who they've restricted themselves a lot, right? So they'll binge, they'll gain a bunch of weight right after, and it's because the metabolism is not ready yet. and a mix of like water and glycogen and salt and things like that. But in a week, 2 weeks, you can do some damage, and you'll see some guys, you know, and girls gain 20, 15 pounds. That stays on, right? After competition, but because they went from eating 1,200, 1,400 calories to now 25 and 3,000 calories. So we'll take Mary, who's now at 1,200, and you're like, okay, we're done cutting, but I need you for 4 more weeks at least. In those 4 weeks, I'll start adding some calories back in. She's still hovering around 120, 122, right? Keep making sure that she's lean. I'm adding calories. I had one client who actually had a very similar story, and we got her back to eating more than she was before. So she's eating, I want to say she ended the cut at like 110 grams of carbs. I say it was like 140 grams of protein and let's say 40 grams of fat. Not a lot of food. But now she's eating on a daily basis 450 grams of carbs, 150 grams of protein, and 80 grams of fat. She's not gonna gain weight, and she's weighing 122 pounds. She's
the same weight?
She kept it. She gained maybe a pound. Actually, at the beginning, we added calories back in, and she kept losing. It was getting to the point where she was just like, I can't stop losing weight. Her metabolism, because what happens is sometimes when you start adding food, there's non-exercise activity thermogenesis, NEAT is for short. NEAT increases, which is this: me fidgeting, me moving around, my tendency to want to stand and walk around, like just like messy, you know, like just kind of like. If you see people like that, usually they're skinny, all right? Like whenever you see like the super skinny people, that you're like, man, that guy eats whatever he wants. Look at him. Look at his mannerisms. Usually he's twitching, high NEAT. You can't keep those guys down, right? They need to start doing stuff.
So watch. Now I'm just gonna keep.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, dude, why are you staring?
Yeah, right.
So NEAT increases usually. So maybe she was walking more now. She was still or working out harder. Her intensity in her workout because she was feeling better because of the extra carbs. So she was losing weight a little bit. Kept losing weight even after we added food. So I was able to get pretty aggressive with her. I think there was 1 week where I added like 100 grams of carbs. She still didn't gain. So it was perfect. It was good though. It was nice. She can sustain that for the rest of her life. She will never weigh 150 again unless she goes down a deep end. You know, like unless she goes on a bender for a couple of weeks. Yeah, like eating ice cream every day. You know, like not working out, those kind of things. But guess what? That's for life now. She's good. She can control.
But she won the one game muscle. Not it just stayed.
No, yeah. Well, so that's the funny thing, right? Muscle gain's a little bit different because muscle gain requires 2 things. More important than calories is your intensity in the gym. So how much weight you're lifting. Because if you just eat a lot of calories and you don't challenge your muscle enough to stress it and break it down, you're just gonna get fat, right? If you have a surplus of calories. So it requires, number one, above nutrition, it requires that you're working to get stronger and really exhaust your muscles. You don't necessarily have to get stronger, you probably will. But you know, you're taking your sets to 8 to 10 reps, for example. They should be heavy. You should be maybe reaching failure on a couple of sets towards the end of your workout, whatever. But that has to be there. If not, there's no muscle to grow. So that's where we reverse diet. For some people who come to me and they've been on diets for a very long time, unfortunately, I can't diet them down. You know, they come to me and they're overweight. You know, they have a high BMI or their body fat levels are high, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you know, how much I'll ask them, like, how much, do you know how many calories you've been eating? You know, and they're like, oh no, I've been eating 1,200 calories for the last 6 weeks or 8 weeks, I haven't lost any weight. So with people like that, I'm like, I can't really, you know, I can't cut from there. There's nothing, so we might have to spend some time reverse dieting. Sometimes they're lying. You understand that? Yeah. No, sometimes they were hitting 1,200 on Monday through Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday they were putting down 3,500 calories. Yeah. You know, so it breaks down any progress that they would have had. So usually I'll try for the first week. I'll start them off around that. If we see some fat loss, I'm like, or some significant fat loss, I'm like, okay, hold on. Yeah. We need to reassess. Yeah. You actually weren't doing what you thought you were doing before. But yeah, if I have somebody on 1,400 calories and they're not losing weight, something's up, right? Yeah. Something's up, and that's where we start reverse dieting. And sometimes it sucks, you know, because you're paying to maintain, right? Like you're paying someone to maintain. That kind of sucks. But you also got some knowledge that you didn't have before, and you stop spinning your wheels. But that's where we reverse diet.
Well, how long should someone be on a deficit?
It depends how much they have to lose, right? Someone who's very obese, you know, you're talking about 40-50% body fat or higher. they can be in a deficit for a year, 2 years. You just need to get those people healthy, right? You need to get the fat off, and there's hormones that are going to control that. Their hormones, there's just enough body fat in them where those hormones are not going to slow down. They're going to just keep going. For most relatively lean people, those hormones, ghrelin and leptin, are going to start to slow down as body fat levels come down. The short answer to your question is, usually I like to plan for 3 to 4 months, 4 months at most, but usually 3 to 4 months, because after that it's just hard to something's gonna happen, right? A vacation's gonna roll around, something. So I think most people should plan on dieting for about 12 to 18 weeks, depending on how much you have to lose. If you have more, longer. If you have less, shorter. And then after that, think of an equally long-term reverse diet, or maybe half the time. It might not take as long, but yeah, think about that.
Cool. So you have half and half. I like that.
Yeah, I would think, give yourself 3 months. Give yourself 3 months, and then from there, if you have more to lose, then you can keep going. But plan for 3 months.
I like it. Well, where can people find you? Where can people learn more about you? Where can they ask you questions?
So on Instagram is probably the best bet. Freakin Nutrition, at Freakin Nutrition, you can go on there. Usually I'm the one on the social media, or some of my other coaches too, but you guys can always just ask questions on there. I know a lot of people submitted things on Instagram, so if we didn't touch on any of them, feel free, because I would love to answer them. And we usually put out content answering a lot of these same questions, and then you can also visit our website if you're interested in it, myfreakinnutrition.com, and you'll get a little bit of understanding of the program, everything like that.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the community, and we'll love to see what's gonna happen next.
Yeah, man.
Future and stuff.
Sounds good, brother.
We're trying to bring something new.
Glad to be here.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you, coach.
Good. Boom. Are you on time for your kids?
Yeah.